all 6 Hytale zones in the Hytale game. Hello lovely YouTube family, welcome back to Hytale Truffle. Before we start, I would like you to hit that red subscribe button so that you never miss out on any of our videos. In the video, we are going to explore the world of Hytale and how it's separated into different regions and zones, as well as the numerous prefabs, mobs, and monsters you'll come across on your Hytale journey. For beginners, there are 6 primary zones in Hytale, and 4 of them have been disclosed thus far. Each of the 4 announced zones is named after one of the game's known elements. The Emerald Grove is the first zone, followed by the Howling Dunes, Borea, and ultimately the Devastated Desert, which is the 4th zone in Hytale. They aren't, however, the only ones you'll be able to visit until we can travel over the infinitely generated universe of Hytale. We'll go through the mobs, bosses, prefabs, and awards that will come at each step of the zones in this video, so stay tuned. Zone 1. Firstly, we have Zone 1, which is the most popular of all the zones about which we know the most so far. Imagine it as the most fundamental zone, with Earth being the most basic element. There isn't much proof to say that Earth and Zone 1 are the same, but they likely are. Let's take a peek at the mobs you'll encounter in Zone 1. The bat comes in first, followed by the cat, chicken, crab, crow, flamingo, cattle, and the majority of terrestrial animals. The chieftain, who is the giant red torque, and the void spider, who might be a late-game Zone 1 monster, are the 2 bosses that you will face in this zone. We have the Quebec villages, which are going to be a huge place, and a lot of cool pictures of them, and everything looks awesome. And there's also a place in Zone 1 called Emerald Grove, which is near where the Quebecs live. But it could also be a place that is corrupted by like Baron's magic, and we have to take about the rewards. Yes, some rewards range from iron, copper, thorium, and cobalt weapons, which can be used to craft top-tier weapons such as swords and armors. Zone 2. Zone 2 is another mysterious zone that has the main element of wind. We've seen a lot of Zone 1, such as torques and other things, as well as the Quebecs, but we haven't seen much of Zone 2. The main mobs in Zone 2 are the antelope, cacti, camel, crocodile, hyena, vulture, snake, and of course, skeletons. In Zone 2, there will most likely be a variety of fish along with crabs and flamingos. The pharynx will most likely be the major good guy mob in Zone 2, so you'll most likely pair with them. They adore meat, so if you want to partner with them, feed them meat. Zombies can also be found in this zone, along with Sarak, a bug-like creature that is a dangerous mob found in this zone. So next, we'll move on to bosses that we can see in Zone 2, and there will be 2 or 3 bosses that you might encounter. The Void Spawn is the beginner-level boss, followed by the Brood Mother, who is the last boss you will face in this zone. As previously stated, the element of Zone 2 is wind, and you'll get to see some wind crystals. If you guys didn't know, the Pharynx have freedom bracelets that have the engraved symbol of wind, and the element of wind is presumed to be likely represented as freedom, and some of the Pharynxes wearing those bracelets to remind them of their past slavery of the Saraks. Zone 3. Zone 3 is an interesting zone where the main element is water, with very interesting bosses and mobs. Let's start with the mobs because there are quite a few. There are not as many as Zone 1 and 2, but we're going to look at them right now. The first mob is the Crawler, which can be found in pretty much every zone. Then there are the Goblins, along with a half-goat, half-human-like species that will be a major adversary for the Outlanders. Skeletons are probably going to be the major cave creatures, and then there'll be the Ice Dragon, which is the epic mob in this zone. Following that, we'll take a look at a few bosses. The first boss you will encounter in the zone is the Yeti, followed by the Ice Dragon, and the main boss we'll face in Zone 3 is the Outlander Priest, who is the late zone boss. Moving on to the prefabs, one of the main prefabs will be the Water Crystals. Another huge prefab they'll definitely see is the Outlander Huts or Outlander Camps, which are really fantastic and will probably be the most popular thing in Zone 3. Then we'll discuss stuff and what kind of loot we can acquire from Zone 3. When you kill the Yeti, you'll probably get some really basic gear, but maybe if you strike the Ice Dragon, you'll get something. You might discover a bow or a nice looking sword if you attack a priest and it's like the Chief Hut or something, but you might obtain a cool weapon like the Flaming Sword if you attack the Outlander Priest. Zone 4. When it comes to Zone 4, the main mobs that we get to see are going to be the Ember Wolf and the Fury Golem. They're most likely the most powerful mobs in this zone, and you probably don't want to fight. Then, the main good guy mob that you're going to see in Zone 4 is going to be the Slothians, and they're going to be very helpful in scaling this zone. Other mobs include Cave Rex, Dimetrodon, macaque, and a lot of raptors. There are 5 levels in the devastated lands, and level 0 is the surface world, which is the top of the Birth and Flames. There are a few prefabs up there, but nothing too significant. Level 1 is called the Devastated Caverns, but it runs from 0 to 4. Level 2 is the Cave, with a few vegetation areas. Level 3 is like the jungle, where the floating villages are then Zone, and then there's Level 4, which is the Forgotten Jungle, followed by the other levels. Zone 5 and 6. Zone 5 and 6 are the 2 mysterious zones that are not yet revealed to the general public. Zone 5 is divided into 2 different parts, namely the outer core and the inner core. The outer core is entirely inhospitable, but if you've made it beyond a devastating lightning storm, you'll find yourself in paradise. This zone's enigma has an intriguing backstory behind it. Varan and his army are attempting to corrupt and seize control of Orbis, and we all know that Gaia is either dead or completely depleted of her power. Your mission as a player is to travel to Zone 5 and obtain something important, such as a lightning crystal, to accompany the other 4 element crystals, in order to awaken Gaia and fight Varan's army. When it comes to Zone 6, we know very little about it. Just like the previous zone, Zone 6 is covered by dark clouds, but there is no lightning inside. But if we look closely, we can detect some fading green-yellow circles and a brighter glow at the top. Coincidentally, purple and yellowish-green are the main colors of Varan. Zone 6 is also said to be the source of Aaron's power, and the majority of his army will most likely come from. Many believe that Varan formerly lived in Zone 6 but was exiled to the Nexus about the same time that Gaia fell asleep. There are a lot of interesting theories when it comes to Zone 5 and 6 particularly, and if you have any theory to share with your audience, then make sure to comment in the comment section below.